Hello, welcome back to On Demand Training. And for those of you joining us for the very first time, my name is Michael Crane, and on behalf of the entire team, thank you for joining us. The purpose of these extremely short segments is to deliver business intelligence and general life wisdom to help you and I reach further towards our full potential. But we also realize that you're extremely busy, so we only keep these to a few minutes in duration. So let's go ahead and jump into today's session. And that is what Sir Walter Raleigh of the 15th century can do for our success today as it relates to creating a first impression that trumps the competition. Sir Walter Raleigh of the 15th century went to a prestigious boarding school, and he was an excellent student, and he wanted to be number one in his class. Problem is, there was another student who was always just ahead of him. And then one night he found out exactly why. You see, as he had finalized his studies for the evening, he went to blow out his candle and turn to bed. But for some reason, he looked out his window across the lawn and into the dorm room window of his competitor and realized that his candle was still lit. And then he timed it, and he realized that he studied for an additional 15 minutes. And he knew right then that he was going to have to change his study time, and he increased it by 20 minutes. And that 20 minutes by year end is what allowed him to become number one in his class. You see, 20 minutes was the differentiating factor. And as true as it was for him, as it relates to being able to trump the competition, the same can be true for you and I as it relates to going beyond creating a good first impression, because you see, a good first impression is just the starting point. After all, that's on the agenda of our competitor. We have to go beyond creating a good first impression, and we have to be able to create differentiation. So how do we create differentiation? Well, we invest 20 minutes into a client profile sheet. Allow me now to show you how we get that done. Okay, let's begin with the end in mind, and allow me to share with you what a client profile sheet looks like before we begin the step-by-step process. Now, here is one example, and here is another. Now, there's two very important reasons why it's wise and beneficial for us to complete one of these. One, we cultivate a habit of getting to know more about the prospect and thus able to begin connecting our solution to their real-world objectives even sooner. And two, given the opportunity to meet, we can demonstrate that our level of professionalism is beyond the current reach of our competition, and all of this in one simple glance. And that one simple glance can pay big dividends as it relates to your relationship and revenue. It typically works something like this. I walk in with a folder. On one side I have stapled note pages, on the other I have stapled their client profile sheet. And as I open this up and begin to take client notes, they often will ask me what it is I have on the other side, pointing to the client profile sheet. Of course, they're extremely curious because their picture is on it. And then I share with them that we understand that their time is valuable, and to ensure that we're investing more of the meeting time on topics that are important to them versus having to answer questions in which their website supplies answers for, we have completed some pre-work so that we have all that information in advance. This allows us to move into the topics that they really want to dive into. After sharing that with them, we receive compliments. In fact, many of them go on to say that they wish that every vendor would be so prepared. And of course, that's exactly the reaction that we want to create. Okay, so now let's get into how to create a professional looking profile in a matter of minutes. But first, know that there is more than one way to create a client profile sheet. But for the sake of time and ease, we'll concentrate our time on just one. First, I recommend PowerPoint due to its flexibility when it comes to cut and paste. Using PowerPoint, we can typically create a custom profile sheet in less than 15 minutes. First, we simply open up a PowerPoint. We then go to File, scroll down to Page Setup. From here, we want to make two slight adjustments. First, we want to change the page orientation from landscape to portrait, and then change the paper size from the standard PowerPoint layout to a normal sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. Now sometimes a pop-up will appear and it will want us to confirm that we want to change the normal PowerPoint format, and of course the answer is yes. Next, we'll clear the format to give us a plain canvas. To do this, we click, drag, then delete. Now let's insert our text box and establish the horizontal length. By dragging over and then stopping, the system knows this is as far as we want to type to the right. Otherwise, it would continue to type on. Just how far? I don't know. Perhaps an experiment for later. We're now going to type the words Publish Profile at the top so that it is the first text seen. We do this so the prospect knows the information that we've obtained is what they want the world to know. We don't want to type something like background check or even client background, as some will interpret it that we're stalking them. We typically want this to be 14 size font and bolded. Everything else can be 10 or 12. Next, we'll put the source from which we obtained the insight, such as the website address and perhaps LinkedIn, and if the business has a Facebook, we might showcase that logo as well, but never a personal Facebook. We simply go to our browser and search for LinkedIn and our Facebook logos, click, then copy, go back into the PowerPoint document and paste. We then click on the image and size to our preference and drag to wherever it is that we want it to go. The logo simply makes it easier for them to recognize where we obtained the information. On a simple glance, they know where we obtained it. Next, we will write About Michael, as we will use me as the prospect. Typically, we then go to the prospect's website and search for a headshot. The About page is a great source. If not found here, we might try their LinkedIn page, but never their personal Facebook page, as it gets a little bit too close to home and begins to feel a little awkward. If no photo is found, we simply type their name in the corner. And we're going to do the same for their company logo. Sometimes it is best to copy and paste from the browser search, as in Google, rather than from their website, as sometimes they have background that makes the copy and paste look less impressive. So to obtain a clean logo, you could go to Google Images and type in the company name and click Images, and sometimes their logo will appear, and you'll simply click on it, copy, and paste it into the PowerPoint. And now let's go back down and fill in some information as it relates to the bio on the person and the company they represent. Typically, we will go to the About page or the LinkedIn page and simply copy and paste. Now, there may be more information than we have room for, so we may have to filter some of the information, because typically we only want this to be one page. Now take note that as we copy and paste, the font from the website or the LinkedIn page may be different than what we're currently using. We simply highlight, go to the top, make sure that we change the font, and of course make sure that the size is the same as well, 10 or 12. And of course, we're going to do the exact same sequence as it relates to the company. We go to the About page, discover some information about them, copy the important information that we want to capture, and paste into the PowerPoint. Now, as a side note, of course, we're going to want to do more research than what we're putting on this paper, but it's a good starting point. Okay, so now we're down to some finishing touches. If we have a background border that we want to use, we simply insert it now. So we go up to Insert, insert the picture of the background, and paste it into the PowerPoint. Now when you paste it, it's going to be on the top. So we're going to want to go up and hit Arrange and Send to Back. And we're done. That is, unless you sit back and go, it could be cleaned up just a little bit. And so what I'd like to do is maybe put a couple lines in here just to clean it up and make it look a little more professional. So I go up to Objects, choose a line, drag from the left to the right, And I'm going to copy this line, paste, and I'm going to drag this one down and put some separation between About Michael and About SBE. Now we're done. I typically save it as is, as in the PowerPoint, and I also save a version in PDF. Now imagine that you've just walked in to see me. Discreetly yet intentionally, as our conversation begins, you open up a folder and showcase your pre-work. Perhaps my profile sheet is stapled on one side and the notes on the other, as mentioned earlier. Even at a glance, I know that I'm dealing with someone prepared and operating on a higher level of professionalism, experience, and common sense. Most importantly, you've created distinction in regard to my first impression of you and the organization you represent. Well done. Again, we thank you for joining us. And if you would like to have one of these templates to follow, just email us at this address and we'll send it out to you today. And if you would like to have additional insight on how we can resource you to have even greater success in sales, go to smartbizsbe.com.